Hi, and welcome to the second installment of our Build a Workshop series, Build a Business Workshop series. I want to welcome each and every one of you who are present and those of you who will watch the videos at a later point in time. Now, this week we're going to talk about so you have an idea, what now? Last week we spoke about the 19 things that will, stop you from pursuing your dream of entrepreneurship. So we focused on, breaking the chains of those things that would hold you back. And a couple of those things were fear of failure, fear of success. So, fear of failure, fear of success, stagnation, procrastination, and amongst other things are what we spoke about last week. And so now this week, we want to focus on, we're getting into the crux of it. So right now we're going to start talking about the actual idea. What do you do during the idea phase of things? Because, a lot of people end up getting stuck right here at the idea stage. And I want to be able to help you to move, to continuously keep moving forward through your idea, through the idea stage, so that you can start to implement some of the things that you found out during the idea stage. Because when you're at this stage, there's quite a few things that you're going to have to do. The main thing that you're going to have to do is research to find out how viable is your idea. And once you do the viability research, you will get a better understanding of your idea, who the target market is that you want to put your product or service out with, and who your competitors are, not just your main competitors, but your secondary and your tertiary. So let's get into the crux of it right now. So the first thing that, we want to talk about is what you should be focusing on in the beginning. When you have an idea, you should focus on the product or service that you're going to be bringing into the market. Okay. And you want to focus on it so that you can bring it to the market as efficiently as possible, as efficiently and as inexpensively for you as possible. So that, because the less that you pay when you bring your service or your product to the market, it's the easier it's going to be for you to get a return back on any money that you invested. So we always want to focus on spending less instead of spending more all the time. So during the phase of the idea, you want to also find out the things that you need to do in order to spend less, get more. Okay. So let's see. Okay. There is a process that you're going to have to do to find out if your idea is viable. Okay. You have to ask yourself some of the basic questions that you really do need to answer to find out just how viable your idea is. There's many questions that you need to ask, but I'm going to go over some of the main questions that you should ask yourself. The first thing you need to ask yourself is, what is the basis behind the idea that you have? What is the reason? Meaning, what's the reason that what is the reason that you want to bring your product or service, or both product and service, into the marketplace? What is that reason? You need to know the answer to that question, because if you don't even know why you're bringing a product or a service into the marketplace, then you're going to get lost within the marketplace, or your idea and or product or service may not make it out into the marketplace. So you have to answer that question. Why do you want to bring it to the market? Why do you want to bring it to the market? Because that question is going to let you know Does your idea solve a problem? And if it solves a problem, what is the problem? Is it a major problem or a minor problem? Are people going to spend money on that product or service for the reason or for the problem that you're trying to solve? Because not every problem that people have, they choose to spend money to fix that problem. Okay? So find out what problem it solves. If it doesn't solve a problem, okay, then does your product or service provide a convenience? Is it a convenience? What's the convenience that it solves? What's going on in people's lives, why they need what you have to offer? Why do they need it? You need to know that answer. The next thing that you need to find out is, okay, if it's not a problem solving product or service, it's not a convenience product or service, okay, is there an unmet need in the marketplace that your product can come in and meet? If so, what is that unmet need? Find out what that unmet need is. Be very clear about what that unmet need is and make sure that it is actually a need. Okay. And you will find out whether it's a true need or not when you go through the process of the idea stage. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find out, figure out what the personality of your company is going to be. Is it serious? Is it fun? Is it, is it educational? Is it, is it a helpful resource? Is it going to be, basically for resources? What the products that you're selling or the service that you're selling, what's the feel, what's the general feel that you want to evoke from people as you are marketing that product or as you are trying to sell that product to people? What is your personality? What's the personality that you want to bring forth and show to people about the company? The personality, what it cares about, what the mission is, what your promises are. These are all things that you need to do because, you have to develop a key message. You have to develop a key message when it comes to any product or service. What is it? So take, for instance, GH Consulting. As you know, GH Consulting provides life and business coaching services, business and government procurement services to entrepreneurs and small businesses. But the main thing that we stress is not only to be a resource and a mentor to small businesses and entrepreneurs, but we also want to do it in a way that they do not have to, it's at a cost-effective it's in a cost-effective manner. So for us, everything about us, everything about the company is about helping the small business and entrepreneur individuals. And we want to do it in a way where they can afford the services that we offer. And they'll also be interested in the resources that we have because everything that we do is tailored to helping them to succeed, to start their business or grow their business, to move it from one area to the next area, to move it from the idea stage to it being actualized, to move a business from being stagnant to a business that's thriving. Okay, so that is what we do. So everything that we do, including the Build a Business Workshop division that was, program that was developed, is all a part of GH Consulting's way of giving back, providing resources, and being able to mentor not just one, but more people on a bigger level so that we can target a lot of business owners. And it does not matter whether you're in the United States or you're in another country. I have clients that are all over the world. Russia, Germany, Istanbul. I have customers all over the world, not just in the United States, and they all have the same issues. You will have small businesses, you have entrepreneurs who are trying to bring their product or service into a marketplace with limited funding. And even if they have some funding, they have to spend it in a way where it's managed properly so that they can do as many things as they need to be able to do with the funding that they have. Okay, so you need to find out what your core message is, what it is that you want to bring forth to them, the promises that you're going to bring forth to them, so that you can develop a system and develop ideas and programs and provide services and or products that's going to be aligned and lined up with those core beliefs, those that your mission, your vision, and your message. Okay. Okay, so let's move to the types of products that you're actually going to be, the product or service. So we're going to focus on are you going to sell products? And if the answer to that question is yes, I am going to be selling products, then here are a couple of things that you need to figure out. Are you going to sell products online or offline? Are you going to are you going to have a storefront? And if you have a storefront, then there are many things that you're going to have to factor into your planning, because you're going to have to find a building. So you're going to have to find a space. You're going to have to find an area that you're going to want to do business in, that there's going to be foot traffic in that area. Okay. So there are many things that you're going to want to do if you're going to bring a product or even a service, but right now we're talking about a product. So if you're going to bring a product and you're going to be in a storefront, you want to make sure that you position yourself in not just mission wise, vision wise, or product wise, but you can have the best product in the world and you set up your storefront in the wrong area, you're not going to be as successful as you could be if you set up shop in the best area for the product that you're selling. You wouldn't sell a high-end product in a low-end in a lower income community. That would not make a whole lot of sense, especially if the high-end product that you're selling, they don't buy. Okay, so a part of the research that you're going to need to do is to, find the right area, find the right people, which is your target market. So you're going to want to find out all of that. So you have to make a decision if you're going to be strictly online, because if you're going to be strictly online, then your product and or service is going to go out to the masses. Okay, although you're going to target it to a specific geographic area or a specific niche or industry, you're still going to have your product and or service available to the masses for anyone who finds you, right? But if you're a local business, then your target market is going to be much smaller and more focused, right? It's going to be more focused because you're going to focus on local clients, right? You're going to focus on local clients, local customers. You're still going to do things, and you still want to make sure that you do things to get people and get clients that are outside of your servicing area, depending on what it is that you're selling. Okay, whether it be a product or service, you're still selling. So, you're going to want to focus heavily on your local market. But apart from that, you're also going to want to make sure that you focus outside of that market as well. And that is where we're going to go into a little bit later, more about your primary market, your secondary market, and your tertiary markets. Okay. So right now, the thing that we have is, we've addressed whether you're going to be selling your product or service online or in a storefront, or if you're going to do both, because, depending on the product that you sell, you can offer your services and or products both online and offline at the same time. It all depends on the product or services that you are offering. Okay. So you want to make sure that during the idea stage, these are the things that you want to make sure that you address, because you want to know ahead of time what all your options are going to be. So product or service, doesn't matter. Right now we're talking about products, but you must make sure that you figure out whether or not you're going to be providing your services online or through a storefront, because the way that you market both of those types of clientele are going to be completely different. Okay, it's going to be completely different. So you want to make sure you know who you're going to be, how you're going to go about distributing your product or services. Okay. The next thing that you want to figure out is, because we're speaking about products right now, is, are you going to manufacture your own products? If you're going to manufacture your own products, right, then there are things that you need to figure out in order to be able to do just that. The facilities, one of the first things that you're going to have to know what you're going to do is, you're going to need a facility in order to produce those products. Okay. If you're going to be manufacturing, you're going to need a facility. Not only are you going to need a facility, you're also going to have to figure out what type of vendors you're going to need for materials, and then whether or not you're going to need employees to help you to produce and manufacture those products. Okay. So that's something you're going through a manufacturing process. So the example that we're going to use is human hair. Okay. So if we're doing human hair right now, okay, so let's talk about human hair. There was a little glitch. So if you're going to decide that you're going to sell human hair, you can do the human hair. You can do it in two ways. You can sell it. You can procure it from a vendor, from a manufacturer who has already processed the raw human hair, because we all know human hair. Well, we don't all know. Human hair comes in bulk, where it's cut off the person's head, it's tied up, it's supposed to have already been cleansed, but it comes just like that. Then you have the manufacturing company that actually, they not only sell the bulk hair, but they also sell wefted hair. Wefted hair means you put it into, you get those hairs together and you line them up, and then you use a special sewing machine and you sew the hair together. It's called wefting. And so you create one long weft of hair. Okay. And then you sell that product in that way. You still have to go through the cleansing, and if you're going to do other things with that hair before you bring it to market, that's all a part of manufacturing. So that's when you have a vendor who they do all of that stuff for you already. So what you're responsible for is you find the vendor, the best vendor that has those products, whether it's bulk or it's wefted, and you purchase those products and you sell them as is. The next option that you have is that you find the vendor that provides the bulk hair, what we spoke about, the bulk hair. And the bulk hair is where they cut the hair off the human's head and they tie it up, they cleanse it, sort of, and they sell that they sell that product to you in bulk form. And then what you as the manufacturer, because you want to manufacture your own hair, what you end up doing is you take the hair and then you go through the entire process with it. You cleanse it, you weft it, you steam it if you're going to steam it, you color it if you're going to color it, and do all those things that you need to do in order to end up with a final product. That is what it is to be a manufacturer of human hair. So if you choose to be the manufacturer, that means you're going to get that hair, and then you're going to be the one, you and your team, if you have a team, is responsible for going through all those steps that need to go through in order for that product to be able to come out into the marketplace. So you're going to want to make a decision. So that's the example that we're going to go with. So with that example, what you have to decide is whether or not you just want to sell the product or you're going to manufacture that product yourself. And that's just the instance of human hair, where the human hair, it's already something that's created. So it just gets cut off and you process the hair. However, other types of products that you actually have to start from scratch and make from scratch, that's something that you are going to have to figure out where you're going to get the parts, how you're going to make the parts, what vendors are you going to work with, how you're going to pay for, those purchase orders of those different products that you're going to need, those items you're going to need in order to create the product that you're trying to create. Are you going to use a vendor to produce the product for you? All those things go into, factor in to when we're talking about products. Okay. So you can buy a product already made, already in existence, and all you're going to do is you're going to be a reseller, or you're going to go through the process of being on the other side of the spectrum, which you're going to be a manufacturer of a particular product. Okay. Inventory. Okay. Are you going to keep an inventory of your, product? Are you going to house the inventory? So if you're going to house inventory, you're going to need somewhere to keep that inventory. You're going to need somewhere to keep your inventory, right? So when one of the things you're going to have to figure out is whether how are you going to store it? Where are you going to store it? You can choose to have inventory even if you do not have a storefront. If you have a home-based business, okay? If you have a home-based business, you can still have inventory because, you're going to be using your home as the place where it is. So, you're going to have to make room, make space in your home for the product. So whether you're home, you work from, you have a business from home, or you have a storefront and you need to manage inventory, you're going to have to set up a system for that. You're going to have a place to have the inventory, and you're going to have a system in place to manage that inventory. Okay. If you don't want to have inventory, but you still want to sell that specific product, then the next thing that you're going to have to the next thing you can think about is one of the options that you have is called drop shipping. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with drop shipping, but drop shipping is where there is a vendor out there who have their own, whether it's a manufacturing company or they have their own warehouse with different types of products that they have in their warehouse, and you resell the products that they have to offer, but you have it wouldn't be a storefront. It would be more along the lines of an online store. So if it's an online store, you have the ability to do drop shipping. People order on your website, but you don't have to carry any of that inventory. The inventory is at that vendor's warehouse, and when they order from your website, you order through them. It depends on whether you have it automatically attached to their system or you have your own system. Then you can sell their products without having to have it in your, you have control over any inventory, and they provide the services of shipping out that product to whoever, to your customers that needs to get it. And there is 100% hands off. You do not have to put one hand on any product at any time. Okay, so you can think about that. You can think about drop shipping. That can be an option for you if you want to sell products, if you want to be an e-store. You do not have to carry those products on your own. You can just simply sell products from another company and have them do all of the work. And then what ends up happening is you split the profits. You get this amount of money, they get that amount of money. And not all the time you might think that you get less money than them. It doesn't always translate to that way. So that's something that you can look into if you want to have an online store, if you want to have an e-store. Okay, if you want to have an e-store, but you want to do it in a very economical way, you can go through the process of finding the right products, the right company to satisfy the customers' requests for those products. Okay, they will satisfy those requests for those products, and you won't have to touch anything. And a lot of times you don't have to pay out any money. My apologies for that. I think where we left off initially was we were talking about inventory and drop shipping. If you're going to have inventory, you have to figure out where you're going to keep all of your inventory, or you also have the option of doing what's called drop shipping. So that's pretty much where we left off in the last one. And as we said, drop shipping is where you have a vendor that you resell products that they already have, and you take all the orders on your website, and they're the one who handles the fulfillment of those orders. So you pass the orders on to them, and whatever amount of money you're supposed to pay for the products that, their cost, and then they will in turn ship the products to your customers. That way you don't have to have any inventory or hold on to anything. Okay. The next thing that we can move on to now is, okay, have you decided, what niche you're going to build your product or service around? Right now we're talking about products. So what are you going to build what are you going to build your niche around? What is your niche for your product? What is going to make your product, when we talk about niche, we're asking what is going to make your product stand out from everyone else's product. That's something that you're going to have to think about, because if you're selling a product that there's a lot of people who sell the exact same product, then you're going to want to figure out how to make your product stand out from everyone else's. One of the things that you can do is you can sell your product to a different market from what they have. You can have it to be a bit more focused. So when you have a more focused vision on your target market, then you start to develop what's called a niche. So you set yourself aside from your competitors so that you can gain market share within that particular industry. So you have to figure out what you want to do to make your product stand out from everyone else's product if your product is not unique. Based on the products that you're selling, have the next thing you're going to want to do is you want to find out who your competitors are and what your competitors are selling, whether they're on the higher end or lower end, or if they're in the middle. You're going to want to know these things. So that should be a question that you ask yourself. That's something that you need to have on the list as the questions that you need to ask, that you need answers to. Okay, so we know we want to know what the basis of your idea is, why you're in the business. You want to know what your idea is going to what's your idea going to solve. Is it going to solve a problem? Is it going to be a convenience thing, or is it going to meet is it going to meet an unmet need within the marketplace? That's something that you're going to have to figure out. If you know that's what it is, you're going to have to ask yourself these questions. You're going to want to know what the personality of your business is. You're going to want to know what your key message and your core pledge to your customers are going to be. You're going to want to know how you're going to go about selling your product, online, offline, or both. And you want to know whether or not you're going to be a manufacturer, whether you're going to keep inventory, or you're going to do drop shipping. These are all the things that you need to know so that you can then develop a strategy that you're going to have to go by for your product. Okay. I think it's still having issues. I'm going to put my screen down really quick because it looks like we're having issues still. This is a work in progress. This is week 2. So, we have to work all the kinks out. So, thank you, thank you, thank you for being patient. Thank you for the messages. So, hopefully, you're watching on here, because if you're watching straight from the YouTube Hangouts, then you should be able to communicate with me. If you're communicating with me on Facebook, I am not going to be able to see that while I am in this environment. So maybe you want to pop over to so let's get back to what I was talking to you about. Okay, I got the question. You wanted me to start back again from the drop shipping and what that is all about. As I said before, drop shipping is when you find a vendor that supplies the products that you want to sell. Whether you're, well, it wouldn't be something that you're going to do offline. You wouldn't have a storefront and have a drop shipper. Um, that's not what drop shipping is. Drop shipping is when you have an online store, and from the online store, you want to sell multiple products. The best thing for you to do is to find a company, to find a vendor who sells pretty much all the products that you want. If they're a drop shipper, what they will do is they will give you access to their inventory. And sometimes they will give it to you on the back end where your website gets the link into their website. If they have an interface, or they have a reseller interface or website that they offer that particular service, then that probably will be the best bet for you to do. However, most of them, you have your own website, and you bring their product information over into your system for the things that you want to sell, and then you're the one who end up getting, then send an order back to that vendor, and then they will provide the fulfillment side of the services. They will fulfill that order to your customer. They will also, depending on the vendor, they will also take care of any customer relationship issues, customer relations issues. If they have a problem, if they need to do a return or anything like that, there are many of the drop shipping vendors that will handle that aspect of the business as well. Since they're the ones who carry the products, they will also bear the burden on making sure that if there needs to be any returns, everything will get done through them. So I do believe that they put information that they will still think that it's coming through you, even though you're using a drop shipper to provide those products. It does not mean that your customers are going to know that these products are coming from someone else. They will still assume it's coming from you, because everything on the package will let them believe that it is coming from you. Okay, so that is what drop shipping is, and I hope I answered your question fully. Maybe one of the things that I can do, let me see if I can make my screen, I can make my screen smaller so that I can still see you guys on Facebook. And that way you can ask me questions. Just give me a minute. Okay. So I'm talking to you, Lindsay, because you had a question for me. I am looking at Facebook as well as I know if you can see me right now. Okay. Do you have any questions for me? Because you had a question about the drop shipping. Do you understand what drop shipping is now? I'm taking some questions for those of you that are wondering why I'm just standing, waiting for their question to come through so I can respond. We're going to do this second half a little different. Two parts, even though it's two parts today. But we start this week, we start today, and we're going to finish next Saturday. So we're going to go over we're going over what we have right now, and then what we're going to stop at is targeting your customers. So we have one more thing that we're going to do after that. Okay, you're asking, how can you start a storefront for drop shipping? Okay, they're two different things. And hmm, okay, The only way that I can see you having a storefront and also have it where you use a drop shipper for the products is if your storefront is just a small space where you have a bunch of catalogs. I don't know how well that is going to work for you because that's not what drop shipping is meant to do. Drop shipping really is for vendors, for store owners that are completely 100% online. It I don't know how you will really make that business model work if you have a storefront but you don't have anything in the store. Um, that I don't see that working. That only works if you have a 100% online store. Do you understand? Do you understand? Okay, good question, Samantha. Give me 1 second. Um, I'm waiting for a response from Lindsay because by the time the stream gets to you through YouTube, there's a lag, and so we're experiencing the lag right now. Just give me one moment. I do see your question though. Okay, so when I have to finish with Lindsay's question because hers was two part. Okay, Lindsay, do you still want me to answer about finding honest drop shipping companies? Okay. I can't tell you what company is honest and what and which companies are honest and which companies aren't because there's no way for me to know that. There isn't going to be any way for you to know that either until you actually start doing business with these companies. What I would suggest is depending on the products that you're trying to sell, you look more for drop shippers that's within the United States, okay? Because for the companies that are within the United States, you'll be able to, if there's an issue, you'll be able to address that issue much easier than if the company you're working for is in another country. Because if they're in another country, it's going to be hard for you to dispute anything that goes wrong unless you when you're paying, you pay through a service as in PayPal or with your credit card or something to pay for the products that was already paid for you. And that way you can go after them through your credit card company or PayPal. Other than that, it's going to be extremely difficult if the drop shipper is in another country and they're not on the up and up. You will have lost money. Okay, so you have to do your due diligence to find out all the drop shippers that you can find that sells the products that you want to sell, and then what you do is you call them and ask them questions. A lot of them will actually do Skype. They'll Skype with you to find out who you are, what it is that you do. You want to make sure that you do your due diligence though. You want to find out about the company, How long have they been in existence? You want to go on Google and put the company's name in, and behind the company's name, what you would do is you would say, I need a review. And so you want reviews from people. What experiences have other people had with that company? That is what you want to do. Okay, that's what you're going to want to do in order to find out whether or not the drop shipper is on the up and up. And even when you do all of that, you're still, when you do business with people, you doing it on faith, and then as long as you do your research, you get to minimize whether or not they're going to rob you if you do your due diligence and you check out that company and you find the reviews and you do those things. But just because you do those things, just know it's still business. You're still dealing with people that you don't know, right? And so, you have to take chances. But I would go with companies that other people have had experiences with that were positive. Okay, you want to make sure that those experiences were positive. If you see that there's a bunch of reviews where people are saying all these negative things about a company, don't made for yourself. So if the same thing that happened to them happens to you, you can't really say anything because you were forewarned, because you saw the reviews about them already. Okay. Samantha, you wanted me to go back to, what is that? Core, what do I mean by key message and core pledge? Okay. When I say key message and core pledge, that is, what is it that you want to say to your customers? Your core message. When we get further along, we're going to talk about different target markets, whether it is the primary, secondary, or tertiary, right? Primary, let's just go a little bit over what primary, secondary, and tertiary is. Primary, your primary target market are those people who are going to buy the products or services that you are offering. Okay, that's your primary target market. Those are the people who are your primary. Your secondary are people who have an effect on whether or not your primary purchases those products, whether it's from you or someone else, but they have a say so, right? And that secondary market also will come into play where they may not necessarily have been looking for what you have to offer, but they were looking for something similar or complementary to what you offer. So they are willing to also take a look at what you have to see if maybe, just maybe, you have something that they need or want. Tertiary is something different. It's rare that you're going to want to go after them because it's going to be extremely hard to capture that particular market, because they're not at all looking for anything that you have. However, they might not be looking for what you have, but they use the products that you have. But it's either the primary or the secondary who actually does the purchasing. So take, for instance, the tertiary market could be the kids, right? But the parents are the primary because it's the parents who purchase the products. And the kids can either be the secondary or the tertiary, because maybe some of them may have clout with their parents, so they get to say what they want and what they don't want, but some of them also don't. But they're the end user of the product that you have. So that's the difference between, you're welcome, Lindsay. That's the difference between those three things: primary, secondary, tertiary, when it comes to whether it's whether it's the target market that you're going after or your competitors. Okay, so your competitors, you look at them in the exact same way as well, but there's different meanings to primary, secondary, and tertiary when it comes to your competitors. Okay, so did I answer your question, Samantha? While I'm waiting for your feedback, I am going to move on. Okay, we also talked about, do you have an idea of what some of the products that your competitors are going to offer? So, your competitors, as I said, you have secondary, for primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary, they offer exactly what you offer. Secondary, they offer something either similar or the same product, but it's at a higher end or a lower end. And tertiary, they offer not just the products that you sell. They might pull away from what you sell, but they sell complementary things, and they've also branched out in different avenues. Okay, so that's what it means for your competitor. So we're still on the will you sell products. So the next thing that we're going to do is, okay, we'll lump these two together. Your competitors, your employees, are you going to have employees? So when it comes to products, right? If you're going to sell products, the only time you're really going to need employees is if you're going to be handling, physical employees. You can have virtual employees where they're freelancers or consultants that work at a distance, but they don't necessarily have to be there where you are to help you to fulfill the orders that you have. But if you have a storefront, the likelihood of you needing to provide those, to have an employee, is probably much higher than if you have an online store. An online store tends to be something that people can satisfy on their own or with the help of virtual freelancers. Okay. You want to make sure that you figure out whether or not you're going to need employees or you don't need employees. You're going to want to make sure that those are questions that you ask yourself, because remember, everything that we're going over right now, these are questions that you need to ask, and you need the answers to these questions. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm telling you what these questions are, and I'm telling you why you're asking these questions and what the questions mean. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to have to find out, what resources do you need in order for the dream that you have to bring these products into the market? How are you going to make that dream a reality? That's the question that you need to ask. What are the resources that you're going to need in order to make all of this happen? Okay, so let's break it down into two things: online, offline. Okay, so we're going to online. Let's do online first. So with online, if you're going to have an online store, then the things that you're definitely going to need is you're going to need a website, but it needs to be an e-commerce website, right? There's a lot of e-commerce website solutions out there now where you no longer have to be the one responsible for going out and getting a merchant account. Okay. A lot of them now have the merchant account built into their system, built into their platform. That way, the only thing you have to do is pay for the hosting for that e-commerce solution. You put your store up, right? And people can pay for your products and services, whether they want to use it PayPal, credit cards, or I don't know if anybody actually does their bank accounts anymore, but they also have the ability to do that. So it's bank card, credit card, and PayPal. PayPal is really big. PayPal is a great source. Always make sure that that is one of the options that you offer to anyone out there if you're selling a product or even a service. Okay. So you need a website. You're going to need the website. If it does not have merchant account attached to it, you're going to need a merchant account. You're going to need to know who your vendors are going to be, where you're going to get the products. Okay. Um, Even if you are going to keep inventory, you still need to know what vendors you're going to be using to get your products. And whether you're going to do drop shipping or you're going to have inventory, make sure that you run tests on your vendor to see how long it takes them to send the product and the quality of their products. You want to do that ahead of time before you go out there and launch your e-store, okay? Launch your store. Do your due diligence, do your due diligence, do your due diligence. Because I have seen and I know of many people who either use drop shippers or they buy a bunch of products from completely inferior, and they cannot use it and resell it back to anyone because they are not going to want to buy the product that you ended up with. So make sure you run tests. See if they'll send you samples. You probably have to pay for samples. Sometimes you have to pay for samples, sometimes you do not. So just check into it while you're doing your due diligence. Make sure that that is something that you also do. Test your vendors' products for quality. Test it. Okay. So, um, another thing that you're going to need for an online store is you're going to need a system for fulfillment. So when they place their order, you know, all the things that you need to do in order to make sure that they get their products on time and it's quality products, shipping and things along that nature. You need to make sure you have all of that stuff already set up and accounted for before you open up your online store to start selling products. Okay. So those are the main things that you're going to need in order to start selling online. You need the vendor, the right vendor. You need the right fulfillment processes. You need an avenue in order to sell your products. You need to, you know, those are get that get those products, employees on hand. So those are the things that you need to figure out when it comes to online. And some of those things cross over to offline as well, because if you have a storefront, you might need an employee. Don't know if you're going to want the employee initially, but you'll still want to make sure that you have you account for that. Do you need employees? If you do, you need to know how many employees you're going to need when you first open up that business. So let's focus on the storefront. If you're going to open up a storefront, okay, here are the main things that you're going to need to look for. And I haven't even begun to talk about business plan, marketing plan, and things along that nature. That's going to come later in other workshops. It's not going to be what we speak about today. Right now, we're just focused in order to find out whether or not your idea is viable or not, meaning whether it's something that is going to, when it comes out into the market, if you're going to be able to make a success out of that business. Okay. So now we're looking to if you're going to be selling online, offline. So if you're going to have a storefront, you need to find the right facility in the right area. If you're selling products that's low end, you don't want to put that in a high end area. If you're selling a product that's high end, you don't want to put that in a low end area. You have to make sure that the products that you're selling is especially because you're going to be a local store. If the people within that geographic area, if those are products that they want and they sure that you take into consideration the radius of your business. Okay. So that's really important. You want to make sure when you find that place, how many competitors do you have that's in that place as well? You want to make sure that you do know that. Give me 1 second. Okay. You're also going to want to know if you have a storefront, how much space are you going to need in order to do what you're going to do? So the space, find the right area. Then from the right area, you're going to want to find the right square footage for the business that you're trying to do. So that's something that you're going to need to focus on. You also need to focus on um, the resources that are going to be around you, the vendors that you might be able to tap into that's already in that geographic area, so that you don't have to necessarily get all your products from, somewhere that's much farther. Depending on the products that you're offering, take a look at what resources that you have locally in your area. They look online for things that they want, whether it's food, products, or services. They look online first. They don't go walking around trying to see what they can find in their neighborhoods. Okay. So you're going to want a web presence. So a website is something that is a must for any business, product or service based. A website is a must. Okay. So a website is something that you need. And depending on what you're trying to do and the products that you're selling. If it's food, then unless it's packaged food, it might not work. But just because you have a local store, don't mean that you can't sell the products that you sell in your store online as well. Even if you sell it online to people who are local, they can still purchase your products online as well. And you just find different fulfillment avenues. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? James, I see you. Okay, you said I answered you already. Okay. Okay. What about you, Lindsay, Samantha, and Josh? Okay, while I'm waiting for your feedback, um, the same things we went over with the product is pretty much the same thing that you have to look at when it comes to service-based businesses. Take, for instance, okay, my business. I can go into a company and provide the services that I offer. I can go to small businesses, whether it's their store or their offices, or they can work with me online. They can order the products online. They can order my services online. They can book an appointment with me online. They can pay for their services online. Everything. Okay, can you hear me now? You should be able to hear me now. Man, this whole live thing, there's a lot of bugs that you got to get out of it. Doesn't matter how many hours of testing you do, when it goes live, everything, it just is what it is. So that you got to roll with the punches. You have to roll with the punches. You have to roll with the punches. Oh, so you can hear me now. Thank goodness. I'm sorry. I can't help it. It's a high volume of people online. And so, in the area where I am, depending on how many people are, on the network, it's kind of, up in the air. Okay. So I'm going to answer your question about the business license. No, it is not necessary for you to have a business license to work online. You don't have to have it. Now, depending on the services that if you're service based, depending you're going to need a license online. But if it's not the same when you do need licensing if you want to make your business legitimate. So you register your business with the government in the state and in the local district where you are. Yes. You fill out the information to get an EIN. You want to make sure that you get a DMB number. My gosh. Sorry. You want to decide whether or not you are going to be a sole proprietor, if you're going to be a limited liability company, a limited liability partnership, a partnership, or a corporation. You have to figure out what it is that you want to be. And you have to file paperwork if you're going to be a sole proprietor, but you will have to file paperwork if it's for any of the other things that you're going to want to do. So yes, absolutely, you're going to want to establish your business as an actual entity. But you also don't have to, because if you're going to do it as a sole proprietor, then any money that you bring in, you have to claim that on your personal taxes. Okay. The same thing that you do for limited liability companies, or a limited liability partnership, LLCs. LLCs, even though you get the distinction and no one can sue you if something goes wrong with your business, you still get taxed as an individual instead of a company, really. So each person within that company still have to file their taxes along with anything that you want to claim about on the company. Okay. So hopefully I answered that question. Um, Let me know if I answered your question completely. And also let me know if you have another question. Um, Business. Service based to provide the service offerings that you have. Just make sure you know all your options. Make sure you look at all the options and think and look outside of the box. You don't have to go the way that everyone normally goes and the way everything has always been done. Find unique ways to provide the solutions you need to provide to your customers and to your clients. Okay. Look outside of the norm and start your own revolution, your own way of doing things. It's pretty much simply the same way that I'm doing what I'm doing. It's not normal. It's not the normal way that most businesses will operate. But this is the way I choose to operate because I choose to connect with my customers or people who don't know me yet and are not my customers, to connect with them on another level, on a more intimate level, and be able to still offer services that I would not have been able to offer if I went the normal route of business building. Okay, so there's many ways to build your business. Okay, I see a question coming through. So yes, I did. Okay, so yes, I did. I did do all the things that I needed to do in order to make sure that my business was and is legitimate. Okay. And the way that I did my business is a little bit different than most because there's many different aspects to my business. And when I say aspects, most people will say they either establish a new business or they establish a division within their business, but I've established strategic business units within my business, within my company. So, and laying the foundation for that so that it can grow and it can branch off into other service lines and do other things without it being early on, so that it will be much easier to branch off into different areas. And when I step away as the main person in this entity, there'll be other people who will be able to do the same thing. Aw, thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. Thanks, Lindsay. Um, okay, same thing with the niche with the service. Are you going to be able to carve out that niche um, in the service industry that you're in? What industry are you in? That's one of the things you want to make sure you find out first. Um, it's much easier to find out what industry you're in when it comes to products, but when it comes to services, it's a little bit tricky because you could end up in many different places, right? So your service offerings, depending on how vast they are or how tightly focused they are, the industry that you could fall in can be one or more different industries that you could fall in. So you want to always make sure you do your research to make sure that you're placing yourself in the right industry that's going to bring you the money penetrated, and you will be able to take some of the market share from that industry, from the competition that's already out there and has established themselves for many years. You can still go into that industry, you can still carve out you can still pull some of that target market out, and you can gain some market shares from them, because not everyone is doing everything the way that that's pleasing to their customers. So you want to make sure that you check out all those things to find out what it is that which one of those industries that your products or services are going to fall in, and it's going to bring income into your business. It's going to bring revenue into your business. It's going to bring customers into your business. So that's all a part of we've only talked about a few things, and I have many more things to talk about. Anything that rolls over from today will roll over to anything I didn't talk about today, which is going to be a lot. I'll talk about next Saturday. And anything that I don't get to talk about next Saturday, what I'll do is I will still push it through where we still keep talking about it, because the idea stage is very important, because it's going to let you know whether or not to go full throttle on that idea that you have. You have to make sure that you are marketing yourself. You have to make sure that you are doing everything that you need to do in order to make that business as successfully as it can possibly be. Okay. Carving out that niche for yourself is going to be really important to you, no matter what it is that you're selling. Even if you're selling the exact same thing as everybody else in in the area that you are, that tweak it in a way, or present it in a way where it will be, and focus your energy on a market that you can then go into that market and you can dominate, right? Instead of you looking at everyone in this market, men, women, children, boys, girls, so forth and so forth, because we know that you don't have to be male or female anymore. It can be a mixture of things. Um, You can hone down what you want to do I mean, extremely specific if you want to, and carve out a niche in that area. And then you can take that niche in that area, even if it's a extremely small area, but you can then begin to tap into that particular niche on a broader scale. And that's how you'll be able to make that work. You find a target market, and even if that target market is small in your local area, you don't know what it looks like when it comes to the online area. So, it can grow and it will grow, because locally is locally, but you don't know what's going on in the other states and in the other countries. Okay. So, in the stages of figuring out and doing the research on your business, these are going to be the things that's going to come into play. These are the questions you need to ask so that you can answer them. Because when we're done with this, whatever the idea is that you have, when we're done, whether it's next week or the week after, when we're done talking about this and you answer the questions that I'm talking to you about, you will know if your business is going to be able to take off. If you do the research, so like what we're talking about now, I can only talk about it and I can only tell you what you need to do. Then you need to go and you need to do the actual research and on your own. And when you find the answers that you need to answer for these things, and I'm going to make I'm going to make I'm going to put some of the questions together in the different sections so that I can give it to you, um, so that I can give it to you guys, so that you will be able to answer them. I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet. I do believe that after all of the 9 workshops, then I'm gonna have a workbook that I'm gonna put together, and I'm gonna have that for sale for anyone who wants to be able to follow along in the workbook to make their dream a reality. So, I'm gonna stop right here. The last thing we're talking about is carving out a niche. And then when we pick up next week, hopefully when we pick up next week, I'll be able to get through much more than what I was able to get through today. But between next week and the week after, we will finish everything that we need to talk about when it comes to the idea stage of it, because this is really important. It's the beginning part, and people tend to get stuck in this part. But if you know the questions to ask, if you know the information you need to find out, it's going to be very helpful to you. And the other parts of what needs to happen will go through a whole lot smoother. Okay. So I want to thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for participating. Um, I'm going to, once this is done, I'm going to pull the video down from YouTube, and then I'm going to combine both of the videos and make it, a bit more smoother than what it was, because there were gaps in between when I started the first live show and then when I ended up at the second live show. But I just want to say thank you for hanging in there with me. Thank you for not leaving. And thank you for being interested in, what I'm trying to teach you guys. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing and speaking to you guys again really soon. On some of the things that I'm talking about in here, or elaborating on a couple of other things. So make sure you come to my website, www.gailahenry.com. Remember, GAH Consulting provides life and business coaching services, business and government procurement consulting, and we also offer a mentorship program for freelancers, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. We are here to help you to build your business. We are here to help you with your idea and help to take your idea and make. That's also what we're here for our program, Build a Business Workshop. Make sure you connect with us on Facebook at GAH Consulting, Twitter We're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest, we're on LinkedIn, and all those things are GAH Consulting. And then on YouTube and Google Plus, you can find us in two places: GAHASC, okay? And then we're working on the GAH Consulting YouTube channel. We're building that up so that we can move off of the GAHASC side onto the GAH Consulting side, because what we're trying to do is to ensure that um, anywhere where you go, you'll be able to find us at GAH Consulting.